And we welcome you to the Pioneer Football Show with Pioneer coach Jerry Odom. The Tusculum Pioneers opened up the season last week against the North Greenville University Crusaders. Have done so under the lights each of the last 2 years. An offensive shootout 2 seasons ago, and this year a defensive struggle. Tusculum Pioneers fall to North Greenville 13-3, but limiting the visitors to just 205 yards of offense. In the contest, Alex Ogle throws for just under 200 yards in the contest, and Jordan Shippey leads the Pioneers with 59 yards rushing. Tackling, Ivan Hogans comes up with 11 tackles in the game, but we heard a lot of youngsters' names in the contest as well that we'll talk about, like Clemens and Luis and Bartley. Lots of youth on that defense, but also lots of veteran leadership. We welcome in Pioneer coach Jerry Odom, and I know that I'll use it, and I've used it before, you've used it. Your dad always said we don't know how we're going to look until we get our picture took. We're throwing that picture away. Yeah. A little bit of an offensive struggle there in the first half until they got things going in the second half. Yeah,
we really didn't block that bad up front. Our backs in the running game were not hitting. We were looking for cutbacks, and they were bouncing everything outside. And we'd worked on that all week. A couple of those guys didn't practice much. They were dinged up, and probably should have gone with Shippey from the get-go. But we got to play better on offense. We put them in some bad situations, special teams wise. Kind of made a blunder on a PBR, a punt return, where we try to pick the ball up at the 1. That can't happen. We got to make better decisions there. Then we get a punt blocked. So really, defense was probably the only segment that I was semi-happy with. The rest of them, we just got to play better.
We'll take a look at some of these highlights as we go through this, and we'll just kind of break it down somewhat. When you look at the numbers, it looks like it's a pretty evenly matched game, but the issue was 2 turnovers, a block punt, and they scored 13 points off of those 3 miscues. And miscues that I think we just didn't pick up a coverage. We just mishandled a snap with the momentum in the game, and then a punt block where we just held it just a bit too long. Because as far as Cantrell was concerned, good game. I thought Shippey had a good game. And Ogle, despite his numbers, I thought just managed the game well. It just wasn't great.
Yeah, I would agree with all those. Alex didn't do anything really wrong, too badly wrong, but he wasn't spectacular either.
Right.
Missed some reads probably, but just overall we got to play better on offense, and we'll have to make some changes, and we're going to look at some different things that we're doing there, maybe even some different personnel. When you hold a team to 205 yards, you should win the football game. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. So we got to be better on special teams. We got to be better, on offense, and then hopefully be as good or better on defense next week. This is a week that you get a lot of growth usually between your first and second game. And I told the kids, I said, all our goals are still out there. This does not limit our goals at all. We just got to go play better.
It was one of those games defensively where I was a bit taken aback because Will Hunter, over 2 years, over 600 yards passing, no interceptions. He's come up with the big play. And we're talking 50, 55, 60-yard plays. He does go 23 of 38, just 179 yards, and he had the one spectacular catch by a receiver with a touchdown that went through the hands of a defender, and he was sacked twice, but he still didn't have the pick, still didn't have the mistake in the game. Why were you so effective against Will Hunter?
Well, I think anytime that you're playing a guy like Will, you got to change your coverages a lot, which we did. But I think the other thing is that we got pressure on him. We made him move his feet. When he can sit back there and set his feet, he's very, very accurate thrower. So I think it's important that we got pressure, but then mixed up our pressures, mixed up our games, and felt like our kids executed that well. I think the other thing is make them be perfect. Cover them. Make them be perfect. They make a great play, go to the next one. But when you make an offense be perfect, and that's got to be the goal. Hopefully, a lot of times they'll self-destruct on their own. They'll get a penalty, they'll miss a throw, whatever the case may be. But when you give up the explosion plays, multiple explosion plays, that's when you're playing behind the stick. So we got to keep doing a good job of being good in first, second down, stopping the run, and then getting off the field on third down. And then again, make them be perfect. They get a first down, don't panic, go to the next play, and then just keep playing. But don't make them earn their way down the field. Don't just give up a 20 and 30-yard chunk plays.
It was a game last year in which Tracy Scott, Ashton Hurd ran for almost 200 yards, 26 yards rushing. You give up. Why were you so effective against their run?
Well, if you go back and look at last year's game, they had 270-yard runs, you know, and it was off of our miscues. We just didn't have the same amount of miscues. I mean, mental errors, I think we only had 10 on defense. So that, you know, I think we trained our eyes pretty well. We played relatively physical once we got going. We missed some tackles early, I thought, but after we got going, I thought we played pretty physically. And, you know, they had some younger offensive line that I thought our defensive line did a really good job of you know, again, giving them different looks and moving things around. And they understand what we're doing. That's the one thing about our kids is I really believe they do understand what we're trying to get accomplished on defense. And our fits were really, really good. We got to keep that going again this next week.
There's some guys that we're normally used to hearing, such as Alford, and Goodman had a great game. Jay Boyd, maybe a bit banged up in the game, but had a great game as always. The guys on that front line, Colton Strickland. Then we had some names that we hadn't heard a whole lot, such as Nelson Luis and Clemens and C.J. Bartley. Right. Those are some guys that had some massive plays.
Well, they're all redshirt freshmen, and it's funny because our offensive line used to say last year it was harder in practice sometimes than it was in games, because those guys are really athletic, very physical. We wanted to redshirt them because we felt like the potential for them to be great with a year under their belt in the weight room and things like that was really good. And they played like I expected them to play. Right. You know, I mean, they play fast. They're athletic guys. We didn't even have Ahmad Gandy, who's another guy. Yeah. You know, he was out was sick with a flu bug. And so we hope we get him back this week and we get back to full strength, because, you know, we missed a few guys. We still had a couple junior college guys that were waiting on some NCAA rulings. So defensively, I didn't feel like we were at full strength. So I was a little bit worried because I was a little bit limited in what I could do with my dime package, with my, you know, a couple different packages that we wanted to do. But the guys that filled in, you know, filled in admirably and played very, very well.
Good games today, obviously, or this past week by Randy Hooks and Ivan Hogan's, along with Bryce Bartlett, who came up with big play after big play in that nickel package for the Pioneers. Special teams wise was a huge question mark. A lot of us wasn't really sure who was going to be striking the ball, kicking the ball, but I felt like Cantrell came in. Of course, it's just still, it's Hunter's younger brother, Andrew. He comes in and has a nice game. Kickoffs were great. They were deep. They were to the one. Good coverage up there.
Blake did a great job with those.
Then there was the field goal by DeFada, and we were unsure, were we going to kick it back to where it came from, or were we going to get it over the line? Those types of things were a big question mark for you in camp, and really that came through very nicely.
I thought the specialists, you know, our deep snappers, our kickers did a very, very nice job. I think Andrew had the one thing where he just took too long on a punt. But other than that, all those guys played well. We'll have to change some things up for Andrew to get, you know, change some protections up, give him a couple different looks so that people can't get a rush on him quite as good. He's got to be quicker getting the ball off. We worked on that already one day this week in practice. We'll continue to work on that. You know, and he's a high school kid. You know, he's first out of high school. He's a true freshman. He's been here 3 weeks. But he's got a big leg, and he's going to be a really, really good player for us. So, yeah, very happy with those guys. Hope they can keep it up.
The Tusculum Pioneers fall to the Crusaders of North Greenville University this past Thursday night. It was for Coach Jeff Farrington, his 6th consecutive win against Tusculum University. The Tusculum Pioneers this week travel on the road to Shorter University to take on the Hawks from Rome, Georgia. North Greenville will host South Atlantic Conference opponent, the Lenore-Rhine Bears, for their home opener under the lights in Tigerville, South Carolina. When we come back with the Pioneer Football Show, we'll talk about Shorter University. That's when we continue after this.
Here at Pierce Farms, and the Pierce family has been working with Ingalls for over 30 years. It means a great deal supplying produce. As a local farmer, it really touches base knowing that we're just simple people just trying to help, and we love what we do, and Ingalls is a huge part of helping us do it. Farming is who we are, and it's in our blood. God has really blessed us with the sun and the soil to grow the best tomatoes you'll find anywhere. I believe it's really in the soil. So if you're in Granger County and you farm tomatoes, then you're in. Just a great blessing on us to actually farm and be able to farm and to supply tomatoes to people. And Ingalls really cares about family farms like Pierce Farms, and they really care about their customers. We're just glad to be a part of that. God has blessed us with a really great partnership there. They make fresh local produce have real meaning for lots of people. I'm Shane Pierce, and this is my Ingalls story.
Hawks of Shorter University, another school out of the Gulf South Conference. Coach, they've got a lot of offensive weapons back from a year ago.
They do. Big receiver, number 1, 6'4", 220. He's all Gulf South Conference kid. We can't let him beat us. We're going to have to do some things for him. They got another receiver, 18 and 88. Both are good football players. I think the receivers, if you look on their offense and their quarterback, are their strengths. Quarterback's back. Played against us last year. I think he's got a solid arm. Kid out of Effingham, Georgia, number 4, solid player. Running backs for them are new. They only have 1 returning offensive lineman. So, and playing a lot of freshmen. You know, they got a new coach there, and he's trying to build his group. And they look more athletic. They look better than they did last year, for sure, on tape. So we'll have to go down there and play. It'll be a tough game, and you know, we've got to do a good job again on defense. We got to get this offense going.
You said last year that this Pioneer football team, that we're not sure what we look like at home, but man, we sure come together on the road. And maybe it's good that we're having this long road.
Yeah, I think sometimes when you struggle and you go to the hotel and there's 70 dudes and they're all together, or 65 guys or whatever, and you're there with the coaches, you can focus just on football. Sometimes that's a good thing. You know, that's not always a bad thing. It kind of puts your mindset in the right place. And that's not saying our mindset wasn't in the right place on Thursday night. It's just, I think that it's a situation where with some changes that we're going to be making and some different things we're going to be doing, that it's good to always have extra meeting time, and you know, and even if it's not meeting time, just being around them and being around the guys. But practice has been really good so far. I think they put this behind them. They understand that our goals are still right out there ahead of us. We just got to go out and win. And I feel like that, you know, every game we go into, we have a chance to win. There's not one game on our schedule I say, man, we can't win that game. So we just got to play the way we're used to playing, and play a better brand of overall ball, from, you know, our operation times, from everything. And if we do that, then we have a chance to be successful.
Tusculum Pioneers take on the Shorter Hawks this Saturday. Join us for coverage on the Pioneer Sports Network. You can listen on AM 1450, 95.5 FM, WSMG, also online through TusculumPioneers.com or Jewel955.com. That's radio coverage from Rome, Georgia this Saturday. For Pioneer coach Jerry Odom and all those behind the Pioneer Sports Network, I'm Brian Staten. Until next week, go Pioneers.